We try and break it not more than 100 kilometers at a stretch.
Right.
Invariably 100, 125 kilometers you have a control point. So our always goal is to reach the next control point. Don't worry about anything else later on. The training what you have done is going to prepare you for multiple hundreds. So that confidence we already have with us. So we need to just reach from point A to the first control point. We're done. And then next, done. So, but if you think of 1,000, to me it is mind-boggling. I got to be consistent, and that's the first. From a weekend warrior, slowly built in 2 more days. I took a long process, long time to get my act together. I never ramped up too fast. So probably one of the reasons I'm still around and not a burnout.
Yeah.
I did space out very well, not too afraid of, okay, a lot of people are doing mileage, should I do? No, I never got into that trap. My space, continue to do 4 days at least a week. Weekends were guaranteed, twice in a week, something that was guaranteed.
I am Baiki Venki and this is the Working Athlete Podcast. Here I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, time management and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future episodes. Today's guest, Kandappa or Kandi as he is endearingly referred to, is an ultra-endurance cyclist and coach from Chennai. He is also one of the main driving forces behind Madras Racing Circuit, also known as MRC, which provides a racing platform for cyclists of all ages and experience brackets. In this episode, Kandi shares his endurance journey and various learnings from both his successful and unsuccessful attempts at ultra-distance cycling events. He also touches upon some pacing, nutritional and mental strength tips that can help riders get through ultra cycling events. I hope you find this episode useful. Now let us get into my conversation with Kandi.
Welcome to the Working Athlete Podcast, Kandi.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Kandi, let's talk about what was work for you and what is work for you now?
I think I come from a mechanical engineering background, and most of my career I have spent in factories and where the schedules could be very grueling at times. So, but I think 2015 I had a break and I moved to Chennai and into a different kind of an IT-enabled kind of a service from the mechanic. That was a welcome break, but the pressures were higher. So instead of being on a shop floor, you find yourself locked within air-conditioned rooms, and working with the US clients means the schedules are longer and the nights are late nights. So yes, so that used to be my schedule most of the 25 years what I worked. So, but at some point in time, I think I was blessed to have worked in a corporate where Mr. Velain Subaya, who was currently heading TI, wanted his top managers to have another, he being a cyclist himself, he wanted to kind of get that feel to a lot of us. There was a small cycling expedition organized from Adyar to Mahabalipuram, about 35 kilometers, way back in 2008. So that was my first
Introduction to cycling.
Introduction to cycling after the childhood, right?
Right.
So after childhood, it was a kind of a reconnect, what happened. So from then on, I think work changed slightly a bit because you always look forward to those times. We were weekend warriors, so you look forward to the weekends. So weekends were spent much differently than lazing at home or catching up on sleep.
Right.
So the work changed that way is what I feel.
So 2008 is when you kind of refound your love for cycling?
Yes, I did. So then it connected me back. So where as a child I used to ride a lot of cycle. Not to school, not as a commute, but we used to rent these cycles in the 60s,
Right.
for 10 paisa or 15 paisa, if I remember correct.
Correct.
Spend for an hour. So all the neighborhood, one of us used to hire the cycle. All the neighborhood guys, we used to spend 2 hours and give back the cycle.
Right.
So that was, I never owned a cycle. So that, it reconnected. So I did like it a lot.
Yeah, so I remember as a kid, I used to rent a bike, I think maybe for 1 rupee or something like that. And we used to have that, same, the Goda cycles.
Yes, absolutely.
With the numbers on the back so that it's
the same.
recognizable for the
shop owner.
For the shop owner.
Exactly.
Right?
It's the same thing we had, same system.
Yeah. And we used to love riding around. Then we got our own bikes. I used to ride my brother's bike, which is taller, and that scissor cut.
The 3 as we call in Bangalore. Yes.
And we used to ride that. So now once you kind of reconnected with cycling in 2008, what were the initial years like in terms of riding?
I think 2008 and 9 and all were mainly the weekend rides. We used to just focus on weekend. There was a nice group here. There was, I think, a Madras Bike Hash. This was a Hash Harriers, and they had formed a subgroup of Madras Bike Hash. And Srinath Rajam, as many would know, was a part of it. And so we used to meet weekends and ride up to 20 kilometers up and 20 kilometers down. That used to be our, and then the usual, those times, finish up at the hotel with all the typical Indian breakfast, catch up. So, not only reconnecting with cycles, so I started to get to meet people from different spheres of life.
Right.
So that, I think, fueled my interest more, because I had moved into Chennai in 2005. I didn't have any friends apart from my colleagues. So this connecting with the other people. There was a network which definitely was happening. Many of them are still my good friends even now after so many years.
Yeah, the social angle of it is very important. Connect, the human connect.
Yes.
The fun we have, not just while riding, but after, at breakfast, or during breaks, the banter and all that. Adds to the whole experience, right?
Yes, it does. So we learned from each other, because I think cycling was just the very nascent stages in India, and a lot of us we used to rely on people who have been abroad and come back here to kind of guide us through. Even I didn't know what a Garmin device was at that time. So if something that's fancy for us at that point of time.
Correct.
So we were taught, okay, these are the different sites you can use to track your data. Then you find that you are connecting with the world of passionate cyclists.
Yeah, talking about sites to track data and stuff. Now there is Strava, but back in the day, we met, I think, via DailyMile.
Yes, DailyMile was the connect.
DailyMile
was the connect, and I think at that time a lot of Bangalore people were active on DailyMile. So I did have the opportunity to connect with many of you guys, and though I saw you after 10 years, probably after connecting with you on DailyMile when you first came to Chennai.
I know,
There was a first face-to-face connect.
Correct.
Otherwise, it was DailyMile. I used to, okay, these guys are doing so much. What can we do? So there was a learning process. The time I knew that Bangalore was slightly ahead on the curve on the cycling scenario, and we were just trying to get in and get more people onto the cycling.
Yeah, I mean, just more in terms of the number of people riding, I would think, rather than anything else when talking about ahead of the curve. But from there, during that time, what kind of riding were you doing?
It was very casual, unstructured, I think even at that point of time, we used to start at 5. So somewhere 5 a.m. seems to be synonymous with most of us Chennai cyclists, because we need to beat the heat and humidity.
Right.
So 5 a.m. is a start point. And we are blessed to stay on the fringes of the city where just closer to ECR, which even now is one of the great cycling lanes for the city.
Yeah.
So we used to start at 5, go with the group, come with the group, go with the group, come with the group. And then the expats did make a difference in the way we cycle. And notable mention is Matt Barrett.
Matt Barrett, yeah.
So he stayed with us for a few years, and he suddenly mooted the idea, why don't we have a time trial? Oh, what is this? What's time trial? So he had to explain to us what that is, and he spent his time and effort in organizing. It used to be a monthly affair. Right now, how all the clubs have races, he used to do it on his own. Every month at a specific time. He used to call out in mail. We used to go attend that. And that is when, okay, speed is something what we need to learn on.
Right.
So you're opening up your mind to a whole lot of new things.
Correct. So Matt was here for a few years. I think then he moved to he was in Bangalore for a couple of years as well before moving out. But he was the one who first initiated those monthly races.
To us, yes. And at that point of time, yes, he was the one. In Chennai, I would credit it to him. And still the MRC, which we'll connect later on, we still start the races at the same point as he was doing in way back in those years. So I did send him a note saying that, hey, do you remember this place? This is the place we are continuing to start our races. So he was thrilled, naturally. He set a good thing in motion here.
Yeah. Super. So, and then when did, from being a weekend warrior kind of thing, riding in the weekends, when did the interest become more pronounced?
I think the word DailyMile itself meant something to me at that point of time. So that means you need to, something is happening daily.
Right.
And looking at the activities of people world around whom we connected, we saw their interest. Some of them are commuting, some of them are going to races, some of them are, doing long distance events. So randonneuring and all, these are terms what I learned way back, even before randonneuring was here, because you had the connect through DailyMile with some of the athletes. So that fueled an interest. And Velain Sobea, who I used to work with as well, and he was a very keen cyclist. So he has kind of noticed me participating in Matt's races, and struggling my way through. He called me and said, this is not the way you do. And I think he introduced me to the, Chris Carmichael had come up with a book at that point of time.
Correct.
So he said, you read this will give you more insight into what can be done. And we also had the pleasure of riding a lot with Srinath Rajam at that point of time,
right,
where he was actively, communicating a whole lot of stuff, what he had learned. He didn't know what cadence used to mean at that time.
Right.
So lot of these are I think these three are the impact mainly. And I do remember I was in connect with Dr. Deepak Rao on DailyMile, and I had messaged him, how are you guys riding so well, so fast? So he recommended, hey, Joe Friel, the Cyclist Bible is there, you go there.
Yeah.
You get, so I think these four gentlemen whom I remember, and these impact kind of fueled my passion to learning first what cycling is all about and how to take it forward.
Right.
So I think I would personally credit these four individuals to having a very long-standing impact, and that also gives me that how one part you are able to fuel up someone else's creativity, and they can explore their journey in their own way. So I still imbibe that, and I try to follow that.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very well put thing, right? That it doesn't take too much of effort to ignite that spark.
Yes.
From you. If you can do as a small thing that will help the other guy, it might end up being the other guy helping so many others. Like in your case, and right now you are helping so many people.
Hopefully we are.
Yeah, definitely. We'll come to all that you're doing.
And I think the DailyMile also spurred this number game. So the Chennai cyclists also were connected. So where people used to message me, how are you doing? I'm going to beat you this week.
Right.
So we used to have kind of coffee challenges. I'm going to do more miles or you're going to do more miles. It all used to be less than 150 kilometers a week. That's all. That's the space what we were playing around at that point in time.
Right.
So we never even used to venture to Mahabs at that point of time, Kovalam or somewhere 20, 30 kilometers or 40 kilometers was our max. But that kind of fueled, a very healthy banter. I have earned many coffees by virtue of being consistently riding.
Right.
So somehow, I got that reconnect. I had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So took this off.
Nice. So many coffees in terms of winning those weekly mileage challenges.
Absolutely, weekly mileage. There is still one gentleman who owes me coffee from those days. I still see him on the road. He says, "You're still beating me. You're still beating me."
Awesome. So when did that kind of from there, the riding daily or winning those weekly mileage challenges and stuff, friendly bets, when did things like brevets come into the picture? How did that change?
I think physiologically I saw a lot of change after I ride. The first couple of years were very tough. I used to go for a 40-kilometer ride. My body used to be battered. I have to sleep for an hour before I can even get up and do my normal activity. And it's a grueling day for me at the office. So after 2 years, even when the brevets and all were interested, I was not really kicked up about long distance endurance. For some reason, the gentleman who influenced me have always influenced me to going towards speed. So, I mean, you know them.
Right.
They always say,
Matt,
you need to,
Srinath, and
Vellankar
Deepak,
as well.
all
of them, they said speed is something. So I came from that school.
Yeah.
I was trying to get it, failing miserably for whatever reasons. But I got to be consistent. I mean, that's the first, from a weekend warrior, slowly built in 2 more days. I took a long process, long time to get my act together. I never ramped up too fast. So probably one of the reasons I'm still around and not a burnout.
Yeah.
I did space out very well. I was not too afraid of, okay, a lot of people are doing mileage, should I do? No, I never got into the trap. My space, continue to do 4 days at least a week. Weekends were guaranteed. Twice in a week, something that was guaranteed. So there was a personal tragedy where I lost my wife in 2013 to cancer. So that kind of took a whole lot of different term into life. And you go through your phases of sorrow and how to come into terms with it, having kids, managing everything. There's a lot going on in 2013 where I think this activity kept me sane for a whole lot of things. Physically, I was in a very good condition and never had any of the issues of the BP or diabetes, touch wood, hit me. So that I was able to continue the journey with cycling. I think 2014 was the first time Chennai introduced a 1,000 kilometer brevet. There is one senior cyclist, he's much older to me, by name Mr. Sundaraj, and he said, hey, this is something what you should do. As a casual, we were on a cycling food tour in Paris corner, right? We were one cycling group had organized to taste the North Indian foods. Early morning we went and we were having kachodis and samosas and sweets, right, in the Saukarpet region. This was when he mentioned, and as I said, this part, why not? This was in January he mentioned, and March was the event. I had not done more than only 1-200. I had done till then.
Before that, yeah.
So that kind of sparked my interest. Why is he saying he broke it down into 1,000 kilometers? You just need to do 15 kilometers per hour. You can do it in 70, something like that. Vaguely he said, without even knowing anything. I came back to office. I asked my boss, can I do this? For some reason, he said, go ahead and do. This is not Belen. This is a different boss. So then, I really attempted. Then all the Chris Carmichael and Joe Friel's, that knowledge came to head.
Right.
So I knew what a tempo ride was, what an endurance ride was. How do you progress week on week? How do you ramp for an event? So this knowledge, what I had built by reading, not knowing where to apply, I applied in those 60 days. In those 60 days, it was applied.
While preparing for that 1,000.
Exactly. So I had plotted my own thing in an Excel sheet. I had training peaks and all where I was not aware of any of those things. In an Excel sheet, in office, you are used to these Excel, reports.
Right.
Plotted out blindly. I did it.
Yeah.
And the 1,000 was done. The first time I attempted, I finished it off.
Wow.
That was a tremendous kick. At that time, I was around 54 or 55 years old, I think.
So what was that experience like, the first 1,000 kilometers?
It was a huge. My kids were there at the finish point. My close friends were there. My colleagues were there. That was a exhilarating experience. And just the thought that through the ride, you really don't feel it. But I think once you come and when you see the people are close to you are cheering you and say that you've done something good, that's when it hits you. So that's when I said, okay, there is something which I have done correctly. So why don't we try to replicate this knowledge into continuing? So I think 2014 was more of, you get so excited, you sign up for all brevets. The next brevet after 1,000 I did was your Bangalore Amateur 200, where I failed. So you get in the feeling, I get 1,000, 200 is nothing. And I sign up for an Amateur. From doing a flat 1,000, I go there. At the stroke of 13.5 hours, I completed 200 kilometers and I am standing at Electronic City Corridor. From there to Silk Board is a nightmare, even at those times.
Yeah. That's like
I just called up. I think there was a different organizer at that point of time, not the current organizers. I called up and then I've done it. I've done 200 in 13.5 hours, but I can't come to the finish point. It's going to be 2 hours for me to cross this mad traffic. So that gave a very sobering experience of, as you get to 1,000, you need to climb. You need to know all those things before you can really perform.
Right. So even I guess you handled even those climbs and stuff, but
it was miserable. I used to suffer, but I handled it. Somewhere down the Dengini Kota climb, I had cramps, which I couldn't get off.
Okay.
I couldn't get out of the cramp. So I couldn't apply the pressure, but I still managed to continue into the game. So you're taught to, in a brevet, you're taught to finish.
Right.
Or try and finish if everything else is okay.
Yeah.
So I think I finished the ride. So, but I'm not on the
official finishers race because you have to go to the end point
at the prescribed time.
Give the card.
Yeah.
So, but Silk Board itself is like a different time horizon.
Yes.
So the time. 1 hour here would be 7 hours there, or whatever it is. I don't know.
Even then it was a nightmare. Even now it's even more a nightmare.
Yeah.
I think all these exhilarating experiences, and then 2015 I have an L4, L5 prolapse, and I'm out of cycling.
Whoa.
So I think all the stresses or whatever, it's built up.
Right.
From a sedentary individual. You go to something and you keep on doing it without maybe not doing the right things at every time. So a bunch of events could have crossed that stress to manifest, and then that's it. January, I'm down.
2015 Jan.
I'm down. No
activity. Prolapse.
no activity. What to do? Nobody knows what to do. So luckily, the neuro whom I worked with and my physical, instructor, they guided on. It is possible through a rehab and stuff like that. And so you're so enamored, you're doing distances, you don't have time to think of injuries. Only when injury hits you, you try to look what are the processes available, to put yourself back. You see, the love for that is making you look at solutions.
Right.
So that is when there is a good yoga center who's also a doctor, who was a student of BKS Iyengar, and he said, this is nothing, I can get you back. Don't bike, don't bend and bike. That's how they call the road bikes.
Right.
Don't bend and bike.
Yeah.
I think 6 months of rehab put me back on the track.
Okay.
And just to test that, I did 2 more thousands later on, just to understand, is it working, is it not working? So I now have the confidence that yes, it is possible.
Okay, so you got back from disc prolapse.
Yes.
You did not need surgery.
No, I did not need surgery.
Excellent.
It was just yoga. It is just the typical yoga where there are about 8 stretches. What he taught, you just do this, and then you're going to come. It was a topsy-turvy journey. It was not overnight to cure. 2 days you're okay. 3rd day you again have the same symptoms. It's so frustrating. But it
took the time, but it
took the time. It took the time. That time, while I was rehabbing, I did connect with one of the amateur groups. It was a women's cycling group. So they wanted to go to Pondicherry from your ride, and they said, why don't you help us? So I connected with them, not on a cycle though, but helped them through the journey. So 2015 was spent amidst cyclists, but not me cycling.
Right.
I was just on the car guiding them. And they did make the trip to Pondicherry finally.
Awesome.
So that was good.
Yeah. So yeah, that is something that is kind of cornerstone to you. The way I see it is that it's not just about you, but also making sure that the knowledge is passed on to the others, the help is catered, and there is that element of building something for the community, and that, right, be it MRC or through your coaching and stuff.
I think the worldwide cycling has thrived as a predominantly community-based activity. I had the fortunate experience of working with a few of the Chennai runners organizers as well. When they are planning their events, I was engaged with them.
Okay.
Even because at that time, running, cycling, everything was cross.
Right.
Both used to each other.
Yeah.
And then, so that is where I learned a lot of what we can give back to the community. There are many people who wanted to come. Right now, it's more organized. There are a lot of people in the space. But at that time, nobody knew where to take the first step, how to take the first step. What should you do? What is the shoe I should buy? What is the cycle I should buy? Where should I cycle? There's no information at that point in time. So I think these experience with Chennai runners helped me. Okay, that became easy. And Chennai Trekking Club was there, which is another major influence. Everything started at that 2008-2009 period. So all of these sports were growing in Chennai, and there was a lot of vibrancy, a lot of people, youngsters coming in, embracing these different activities, which was a major shift from a sedentary life. All of a sudden you can see people running on the road, hiking in the weekend, cycling on ECR. So that was a very positive change. Right. And you have connects across the communities at that point in time.
Correct.
People were dabbling in all of the activities.
Yeah.
And right now we are more focused on one, and we are losing the connect with the others, but those times were fun.
Yeah. So you said getting out, using yoga to rehab as a rehab, and you got better over a period of time. And you mentioned that you have done a couple of thousands to see how it goes.
Just to see, absolutely.
Yeah. So how did they go?
They went well. The lack of training, I did not I normally don't subscribe to going to an event without any training. I avoid it.
Right.
So I did the ramp correctly and then went into these two events. So these two, I'm not a very fast finisher or something. If it is 75 hours, 74 hours, 30 minutes, I will land at the finish point.
Right.
And I will be up. I will not be crawling to the finish line.
Right.
I still be up. So that gave me the confidence that yes, I mean, you have to do things rightly to be in the sport. You have to balance. So I still have on my hot call list a physiotherapist, physical instructors. I value them a lot now.
Right.
So these are the guys whom I send anyone coming to me with issues, or even before the issues surfacing, tell them, why don't you go to a gym? Why don't you strengthen yourselves? Why don't you go to this yoga studio and keep yourself more flexible? Because we see now a lot of people from offices want to come cycle and they want to do long distances in a very short time.
Right. Ramping up
I mean,
too
we
soon.
have a bad example of what
Right.
can happen, wrong.
Right.
So
Excellent. So what, because you have experience of riding so many long distance events, right? What are some of the things that people who are aspiring to ride distances like 1,000 kilometers and stuff need to keep in mind and train for?
So this is interesting because long distance. When you call even 200 is a long distance to someone.
It is
1,000
relative,
is a
right?
long distance to someone. RAM is a long distance to someone. So there are now Indians are in all spaces they are going in.
Right.
But I think there is definitely a physical fitness component which is needed in the relevant sport, and the mental toughness is much more needed in these events. Is what I feel. I've seen people really tough on mentally where I could even fail. They just blow along. Young guys, I don't know what comes into them. They just shut themselves off. I will never be able to replicate those kind of mental toughness. So that is something what I try to earn by riding solo. I encourage my team members also to do a lot of solo rides where with no support. Nobody holding the rope for you.
Right.
You're on your own. So that kind of builds the mental toughness as well. So I think, and I give a lot of value to the proper ramp to an event. If it is a 1,000 kilometer event, you have a certain protocol to follow, and also evaluate what kind of a physical fitness you are in before you attempt a longer event. So that's how I subscribe, and I try and give more and more, daily workouts. Work out on all the skills, just not endurance. So you become an all-round cyclist. That will definitely take you far.
Right. So you have helped so many people train for these events over the years, right? So once the guy is in an event, what is the best way to get through the event? Say he has done the ramp well, he has built his mileage and to the event well, and tapered down before the event so that he is fresh at the start line. And what for me, someone who is longest distance at a stretch, who is 250 kilometers and nothing beyond, it is a little mind-boggling to think of distances like 600, 1,000, because it's a lot more than what you can carry on you in terms of nutrition, hydration, and it is breaking the barrier of sleep beyond 24 hours and stuff. So how do you manage all these things once a guy is in the event? Say, let's take the 1,000 as an example.
We try and break it not more than 100 kilometers at a stretch.
Right.
Invariably 100, 125 kilometers you have a control point. So our always goal is to reach the next control point. Don't worry about anything else later on. The training what you have done is going to prepare you for multiple hundreds. So that confidence we already have with us. So we need to just reach from point A to the first control point. We're done. And then next, done. So, but if you think of 1,000, to me it is mind-boggling.
Right.
I would balk at that
Yeah.
number.
Yeah.
But looking at, or it could be interesting, okay, from here to, if there is a place name, that's good. Okay, from here to Pondicherry, I need to know.
Yeah.
That's much more manageable. From Pondicherry to Vilupuram, I need. That's much more manageable again.
Yeah.
So that's how we kind of break it, smaller distances. And due to my age, I find people having difficulty in power naps. A lot of people have told me that, either I sleep or I'm always sleep deprived. So fortunately for me, I rely on the power of the power nap. That 15 minutes, at any point in time, I can doze and get up, and it can keep me going on for the 6 hours. So this is one essential thing which should be in an endurance guy's toolkit.
Right.
The ability to sit on a bus stop,
Sleep, take power nap.
hold your cycle.
Yeah.
You can't.
No, don't want
you hold
that
your
to be
cycle
go.
and then nap, and then get up and
You
go.
don't want to wake up and find the cycle
Exactly. You
missing.
just can't go and without go knocked off.
Right.
So that is something what is essential in everyone's tool. Nutrition and hydration, there are various sciences, and everybody has to find their balance. What works for one doesn't work for the other. And all of these things we try to tell, try it in your training rides.
Right.
Just don't go by fancy names. Simple orange juice can, Mosambi can take you through, it takes you through.
Yeah.
Period. So, but try it out. Don't try anything new. On the day of the event, no point in drinking a Red Bull and then, throwing up or having some adverse reactions. So,
Right.
all these training rides we tell people to. I mean, this is a common knowledge, but still, some do ignore and get. They try a new gel and then they really throw up. These
Right.
can be nasty in an event.
Yeah. Very good points. And talking of mental toughness, right? That thing about breaking the goal into smaller chunks, smaller manageable chunks, so that the whole thing is not
Yes.
daunting, is really helpful. I
Yes.
think.
And I think what happens is in brevet nowadays, nobody can ride from end to end as one team or anything. You need to be able to work with multiple riders, so that ability should be there. So either your drafting capabilities has to be good or your leading capabilities to work well with others.
Right.
That social skill helps. Because you go to a control point, your partner may be resting more, but some other group is leaving, and you would want to go with them. This is, if your skills are good enough, you just latch onto them and you go to the next control point in a much more efficient way.
Right. Yeah, that is important. Even if 2-3 of you are there, your fitness levels are matching, and you are working together. But then it might be that one person is much more sleep deprived,
Yes, it happens.
and much more
Invariably happens.
fatigued. It kind of happens.
Yeah, toilet room break and throw everything together.
Correct.
30 minutes if somebody wants to try, the other two are raring to go.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. So even when my team members go, they operate to their strengths.
Right.
They're not a hard and fast rule that they need to stick together from an end to end. After 200 kilometers, everybody body behaves differently.
Right.
Some can take it, some can't take it, some need that rest to rejuvenate and move on to the next. They should play to their strengths is what I feel.
Right. So what is the longest ride you have done so far?
As of now, it is 1039. That's my longest ride.
Right.
Yes.
And PBP?
No, I never went to PBP because at some point I stopped doing the brevet as an official as conducted here. I had other commitments, so I couldn't keep up with that. For a PBP, that's a prerequisite.
Correct.
That you need to do the brevets. So, luckily for folks like us, there is a LEL, which is London to Edinburgh to London.
Right.
I do have a failed attempt in 2017, which I'm trying to go this year and see what best I can do.
So 2017 LEL, let's talk about that. What was the experience like, and how did it end up being a failed attempt?
Yeah, so coming from a humid climate like Chennai and going to London, that was the first buzz. You're cold, you can't manage the rain, you can't manage the cold. But surprisingly, with the right amount of clothing, with Gore and Castelli to the help,
Right.
I really could manage the weather and stuff like that. I couldn't eat well in many control points, though I do eat non-vegetarian for some reason. I could not intake as much food as I would want to, and I was not brave enough to look for cafes on the road to take something what I like. Maybe I did have a blackout, and
Blackout.
yeah. So at early
How?
6 o'clock, I just crashed on the ground.
Oh man.
Yeah.
While on the bike, right?
While on the bike. It's in some remote part. I was returning back from Scotland, back to England, and a remote. It wasn't a very remote place.
Right.
At 6, who's going to be there in the UK? I mean, as fortune would have it, there was a guy passing in an SUV. He stopped. He asked me this. I said this. So after that, I don't know what, an ambulance came, picked me up, put me in a hospital, and went back. They were my good friends. I mean, my team also had come from Chennai. They were in London. So they came, picked me up, and that's how it ended up. But ride-wise, I was pretty happy coming from a very flat terrain.
At what distance was that?
I think I would put it at 820 kilometers-ish.
Wow.
820 kilometers-ish is when I did give up.
Wow.
So that was 1,450. So definitely I've turned the U-turn.
Correct.
And then somewhere between that and the next control point is when I
Blacked out.
am blacked out and trashed out.
Right. Wow.
That was 2017 was a lot of, it was a year with a lot of events because I think the team as I run now, Motley Crew, came into existence in 2017, though we were riding as a team from 2015. So we were a bunch of guys with varied interests, a few doing events, few doing time trials, races, few for fitness, few for fun. So that's why I named it as a Motley
Crew.
So
Perfect.
it's all very timely. But we all still catch up at 5 and go up to a certain point. Then 1 hour we all do our own things, whatever we need to do.
Right.
Weekend rides we try to stick on together. Any outdoor outstation, we go to Bangalore, we go to Yelagiri, we go to Ooty. These are our 3 favorite spots as of now. Right. So we drive together as a team, have this outdoor activity and come back.
Awesome.
And that was the year when MRC, the Madras Racing Circuit, was conceived, not by me, but it was by a bunch of cyclists who are very active and who did not have a platform to showcase their skills. There is no advancement. They are unable to participate in any of the races because there is no local event happening. They had formed up and said, why don't we have a WhatsApp group of the racing cyclists? And I don't know how I came to be a part of that because I found myself added into that WhatsApp group in March 2017. For fun, April 2017, we did a event. And it was a huge success thanks to the guys who came and who really, really, really loved it, and many of them expressed that why don't we have this. At this point in time, I would say that I drew a lot of inspiration from you because I did track what was happening in the Bangalore, and you were conducting similar rides.
Bangalore Amateur Racing.
Where you were giving a cake as at the end is what I
correct.
Right? I said, why don't we replicate that? And I do remember that I reached out to you to find out what is this handicap race all about. And I think we did a lot of learning, taking in, and trying to roll it out in our format so that our people can understand and participate. So that way it was a really good learning curve, and we did well. And I think with a certain amount of guarantee, I can say that I think Chennai was the first team to roll out the no contact ITT in India post-COVID. I think that much we have learned, and the team was there. And
Absolutely.
that was a brilliant stroke. We did, and I had people calling from various places and saying, "What is this?
Yeah.
Why did you do?" And
Yeah.
we were featured in a couple of online magazines. So credit goes to these guys, the athletes who come race. They train hard.
Right.
And there's a platform.
So for those who don't understand the no contact ITTs or races, basically you use platforms like Strava.
Yes.
You depend on the segment that is created on
Yes.
Strava, and anyone and everyone can ride that segment during a certain time window.
Yes.
And it will be considered as part of the race, and whoever does the segment fastest during that time period
Yes, absolutely.
will take the win,
Absolutely.
podium and stuff like that.
We still used to be on the course. We did not just want it to be abandoned and you do, and there's no remote.
Right.
But I think the core volunteers always used to be present on the course, and we will be standing in some bus stop and watching the guys. These guys will go to us.
But basically,
stuff.
there are no bibs that are given
Nothing.
out. There are no contact because COVID scare is like
It
very
was huge
real
at that time.
Yeah,
It
very
was huge
real at that time.
Very real too, yes.
Yeah.
So that was we still continue to do that now. It's a kind of, it is done away with a lot of tracking devices, and it needs a lot more volunteers to monitor. Now we are doing with a lesser group of volunteers who monitor safety and try to help riders in case of an emergency, rather than just the start and finish, which is taken over by technology.
Awesome. So the MRC came into the formed in April 2017.
Yes.
It's been doing really well. Conducting races almost every month.
Every month, except I think 2 months. December usually we call it off, or somewhere in, or if the nationals clashes, we call it off.
There needs to be a downtime.
Otherwise, it's more and more every month.
Awesome.
We just roll on. We did have ups and downs with that. When in one of the events, only 4 participants turned up. But still, it's a community-based thing. We do not want to let that go. We did, a few of us meet and said, it's okay, people will take time to understand and start coming in. Let us continue that. It's not costing us any money. It's just our time.
Right.
So we continued it, and then the support really picked up from them. And
okay. So initial year is when you saw that 4
initially it was high,
and
then it went to a total low, and then it kind of steady state. There were a lot of people who supported us at that point in time. Chiklo Cafe, Ashish supported us with all the goodies every month. Bachi from Tugo supported us. Sherrier was with TI Cycles at that time. He supported us with, this is it, we will give the stuff to you, you give it off. So from the cake, we started giving out goodies. Suresh from Pro Bikers chipped in for next year. So we had a fair amount of people chipping in. Individuals chipped in with the championship thing. They wanted to, all of them are cyclists. They are all actively cycling. They may be racing, they may not be racing, but they were all happy to see the cycling scene, that some event is happening consistently. They're seeing the effects of that. More number of participation goes to nationals. We do have our fair share of people coming over here, come from here to participate in races across other parts, especially Bangalore, since it's so close by.
Correct.
So that way it keeps us fueling. Now we are trying to see more. Right now we are trying to give categories to the under 14 category, because they are the future. They are the ones who are going to in about 5-6 years.
Correct.
They have the potential to do well in the nationals. I mean, that is the.
Do you have enough kids?
We don't have enough kids, but we have created the category in the hope that that people come. There are a couple of parents who are now sending their kids to the event regular, even though no exam, they still come. For the kids, it's a dedication of the parent also, which matters. They just can't do it on their own. The support from the parent is very important for them at this age. By 16, they're able to kind of find balance and roll on.
Awesome. So yeah, that is going on well. It is great to see. Having, it is important to have something that is a staple.
Yes.
Right.
Agreed.
So that people can have something to look at
Yes.
and aim for and train for. Because when we started, BBCH was the only thing that we had, and that monthly race was something that we were looking forward to, and we were planning our holidays around it. If there is the third Sunday
Absolutely.
of the month, we are not
Absolutely.
going anywhere.
Absolutely.
And we were planning our training around that. So that is something that gives you impetus, right? Those events
you're
give so much motivation to the participants. And when I started Bangalore Amateur Racing in 2013, as it turned out, it's been a long journey. It became first Sunday of the month, and we'd come race while BBCH is more well structured, well organized. There are a lot of sponsors that come in and help. Very professional, organized race, and a big participation, like hundreds of people participate. Bar kind of started with with the idea that since BBCH had one road race, one MTB in alternate months, we roadies thought, okay, we need to have more races. And we can't pester those organizers whose hands already have their hands full. So we said, okay, let us start. And that's the idea behind that genesis. And we started doing a time trial every day, every month, the first Sunday of the month, Nandi time trial or team time trial, or now we started, I think from 2016 or something like that, we started handicap races, and we kind of it gave us an platform to explore, experiment, so that I kept it very lean, so that I'm not answerable to any any sponsors or anyone.
Agreed.
So that it's kind of sustainable, and that kind of worked out, because every month there is something for people to look forward to. Now there are more events that are coming up in Bangalore. It's not just BBC, there in bar, there is like something like monthly course.
Yes.
So people have a ability to choose, pick and choose, or
exactly.
participate in everything, or
whatever they want to,
one or two or whatever, right? So from lack of races or limited races to now we are at the stage where we are saying, okay, we don't have enough weekends, which is excellent. So
here also we are structured in such a way that we picked up the fourth weekend, and WCCG, which is one of the largest clubs within Chennai. I mean, they have really fueled up cycling across the landscape of Chennai. They did a really good job. When they came into they wanted to do time trials and races, they conferred, that is something. We are an unorganized group. We are just under the WhatsApp and something.
Correct.
They did, okay, you are fourth, can we have the second? And they went ahead and chose the dates for second. So there's no local conflict.
Correct.
So riders need not be, they do both. Right now it's two, which is happening.
Yeah, that is important to kind of have that in collaboration.
Yes, like, absolutely.
I still work with BBCH, volunteer with them, and while organizing bar, and I go and help a monthly course and stuff. We also kind of communicate with each other, saying which race is coming up, and which weekend. More or less, we kind of distributed the calendar around, and that collaboration has to be there, at least within the city.
Yes,
so that,
within the city. Yes, I agree. We do have. I think this is a community which kind of thrives on cooperation, and everybody in this game wants to further the cause, further enhance the community.
Awesome. Now you, after 2017, you are now going for LEL in this year, which is in a couple of months now.
It is August. It's August 7th.
August 7th is the date. So how is the preparation and everything going on?
I would like to think it is good, but one never knows unless I am on the course. So whatever logically and theoretically needs to be done, yes. I have a few of my team members also going. So it's a kind of I like the training process more than the event. So I always keep the event as something where the training process can be more interesting. We did travel. We have come to Bangalore. We have gone to a.k.a. Now next week we're going to Ooty as a team. So we have these outings as well. So that keeps us motivated.
So that you are not just training on the flats.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So
yes.
what are some of the things that, someone who is going to an event like LEL needs to keep in mind and prepare for?
I think once we get to know the terrain and the place where we are going, we take into consideration the weather and gear up for that in clothing. That is, so since we have done the 2017, we kind of know what clothing worked, what did not work, what bike setup worked, what did not work. We did carry a lot more stuff than we wanted to use. Now we are much more knowledgeable and say we need not carry so much as we did in 2017.
Yeah, so
we can use the control points. We can use the support back systems to move this all out.
So, let us assume that someone listening to this podcast is planning to go there for the first time. What are the things that they can carry, they can avoid? And there is this saying, right? There is no such thing as bad weather, but just bad clothing.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
So what are the things that they can carry in terms of clothing? What are the things that they can carry in terms of nutrition, hydration? And what are the things that they can rely on, on the course available?
And the beauty is, LEL has got every 100 kilometers there's a control point. So you just need to manage 100 kilometers of some good elevation. I think 13,000 meters is the total elevation for 1,500 kilometer.
13,000 meters.
Yes,
wow.
That's the thing. In some sections it's going to be steep, some sections it's going to be flat. But I think clothing wise, we try and do the layering wise because UK weather can be funny. It's cold at some time, it's suddenly warm, or it's raining at some time. So layering is something what we prefer.
Right.
And with warmers, not the full length bib shorts, but rather rely on leg warmers and hand warmers. We don't wear the full clothes. Suddenly it can get warm,
so that you can peel them
off, and then we tend to rely on Castelli or Gore as the products. We find that their quality is really, really good.
Right.
It is on the higher side of the cost. Definitely, it does pinch when you want to buy it. And then
one rain jacket, one wind blocker,
one wind blocker, and then your shoe you have a wind blocker cover as well as a rain protective cover with a fleece because it gets cold there.
Right.
We are not used to something sub 10 degrees.
Right.
It doesn't get very cold. It's between the range of I think 10 to 22 degrees, somewhere in that ballpark it's going to be.
Right.
So leg warmers and hand warmers and one full length gloves.
For someone who is used to high 30s and for low 40s, 10 degrees is going to be
huge.
Feel like sub-zero.
It is going to be feel more when the wind is there as well.
Right. The wind chill factor is also there.
The wind chill factor is there.
And especially while climbing down or something like that, you are going to feel a lot more cold.
There are not much of guard section as well.
Right.
It's all rolling.
It's rolling. You keep climbing.
There are some designs, yes, but not as much as we would be chill kind of thing.
Correct.
I don't remember any such thing. Right. But I think I missed out the most difficult part, which they said is after that 900 or something.
Okay.
I have not done that.
Right.
So still for me, that is going to be an experience.
Yeah.
Apparently, there were brutal headwinds and rains and everything was there in the section which I missed.
Right. But you are going to experience that.
Exactly. But I'm going in with more confidence that you can battle it out.
Correct. And in terms of nutrition, you can manage with what is available.
What is available, and we just have energy bars and some kind of sweetish things to keep you going. I don't rely on gels. It's more of energy bars and stuff. We operate at low endurance zones, power zones is what you will be pedaling it out.
Yeah.
You're not going to go to the threshold or anywhere.
Yes.
So just to keep us some Indian tikki masala kind of a things to just even salted peanuts or something just to keep that thing going.
Right.
That's all.
Super. That is very helpful. All the best for that.
Thank you very much.
And it's been fantastic interaction. To kind of conclude the session, what are some of the tips that you would give working athletes to do well at work as well as sport?
Yeah, I think I do work with a lot of people who have work and who do manage very tough schedules. And the main thing, what hits all of them is the lack of sleep. That has a telling effect on the workout. Not only then it's a domino effect. The workout is bad and then the day turns out bad. So there is a constant battle between when to sleep, how to sleep. So that is the best kind of a recovery what I think one should give. Try to balance out your work in such a way you do retire a bit early. Not at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, but at decent time where you give. If we are in Chennai, it's going to be the sleep amount is going to be curtailed because all of us are up at 4. We have to be out on the road at 5.
Right.
A different city like Bangalore could have the luxury of that extra 1 hour of sleep. So me personally, I've cut all my other social activities of malls, cinemas. I don't have the time. I don't go. I've given it up way back. So that gives me more time to invest back on myself and the team, what I run, the athletes with whom I'm working on. At work, I find all of them who are working with me are very, very, very energetic. But it has to be acquired. It definitely takes more than 2 years for that benefit to come into you. And you are able to exuberate that within your workspace. But that first 2 years, whenever anyone is going to make a transition, it is very, very, very challenging. Try and have buddies who wait for you at a particular time. So that motivates us to keep going day in and day after.
Right.
Body can become very lazy. It will tell you all signals not to do stuff.
Right.
And basic monitoring of heart rate and weight is definitely essential along with the blood works, especially for the first 2 years. We are seeing a lot of cases where people are getting into deficient levels. It is having an impact on their health. That we don't want.
Right. Awesome. Thanks, Kandi. It's been a fantastic interaction.
Yeah, it's been nice sharing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like going down the memory lane kind of. Thanks for the
yeah.
opportunity.
Thank you for taking the time and sharing your journey with the Working Athlete podcast.
Thanks.
That was my conversation with Kandi. I hope you enjoyed that. If you are enjoying these podcasts and are finding them useful, please consider supporting the podcast by subscribing to the channel on YouTube as well as on your favorite podcasting app. Thanks again for your continuous support. See you next week with another guest.